change is hard. We changed a lot when I got here, and you're going to have a little bit of resistance to change, and but I think now we're all rowing in the same direction, and I'm really excited about what we have going on here and who we have, and the people are just, everyone involved in the football program here is awesome, and I can't say enough good things about them.
Welcome to Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. Each episode pulls back the curtain on the coaching profession, spotlighting voices from every level of the game and offering lessons and insights for your own path. But first, a word from CoachComm.
When the game's on the line, your play call can mean the difference between winning and losing. Don't let poor communication cost you the game. For 35 years, CoachComm has been the trusted leader in coaching communication, delivering solutions with unmatched sound quality, performance, and durability. That's why thousands of coaches in high schools across the country trust CoachComm. You put in the hours to prepare. Make sure your communication delivers when it counts. CoachComm, giving coaches the ultimate competitive edge. Visit CoachComm.com to learn more.
Follow Inside the Headset on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. We drop new episodes each week, so hit that follow button and never miss a moment. Now, let's get inside the headset.
Coach, what's happening, man? How we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you, man. It's been feels like a long, I guess 6-7 months since I seen you at the convention, but happy to be on the horn with you here, man. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this thing, man. The first thing we always ask on the podcast is, when did you know you want to be a part of this great profession?
Yeah, probably when I was like 8 or 9. I used to go to Nike Coach of the Year clinics. So my uncle was a longtime head coach at Potomac State until they dropped football, and then he was at Berkeley Springs High School, and then he was the associate head coach for Coach Fitzgerald at Frostburg State for a while. And his son, Gabe, he was the offense coordinator at Albany, Duquesne, Ithaca. He's a little bit older than me. So, and my dad's a youth coach. So probably at a young age, I wasn't that good of a player. So, but I loved football. And, I used to go to those Nike clinics, and I've heard guys I've heard Larry Karras speak. I've heard Ed Orgeron speak at that. Nick Saban, the one in Pittsburgh, I've heard of Mark D'Antonio, Pat Narduzzi, James Franklin. So, at a young age, I was kind of thrown into it. It was just something I loved.
You know what? This is episode probably 425. We've done about 400 of those. I don't think I've heard of anybody less than the age of 18 sitting in some of those educational, deals. And I can only imagine with that list of names that, you probably heard some powerful stuff and maybe didn't even know how powerful, the name Larry Karras, that's a legend in the game. They say all the guys are legends, and to be able to kind of sit down at such a young age and have the opportunity to listen to that, you probably didn't even know how valuable that was, huh?
Yeah, they would give you those Nike portfolios, they have the play, the offensive line draw. Yeah. I probably have 15 of them from all the clinics I've gone to. And, I haven't been to a Nike clinic since before COVID. So, they're all old, but they have some good stuff in it.
That's awesome, man. And that's funny because I remember even now to this day, you get some incoming freshmen and they don't know how many linemen are supposed to, how many people are on the ball and stuff, and you're 8 and 9 and you got full offenses installed and all that good stuff, man. That's pretty cool. Now, obviously knew that, and you kind of said you weren't a great player at that point, but at some point you ultimately turned into one. You end up at Allegheny College, a 3-year letter winner, 75 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, interception, and went and had that great experience. I would assume, I can't speak on your full college experience, but obviously had some success on the field, and you immediately step into a GA role as you kind of come to a conclusion. Knowing that you want to be a part of the profession for a long time, having a successful career, what were kind of your steps to get your foot in the door to get started in this thing?
Yeah, I went to Allegheny College, and I played for Mark Matlack there, who was in the Allegheny Hall of Fame as a player. He was a long-time defense coordinator at UNH, and we had a great relationship. Like, my grandfather actually coached him in youth football. I've known the Matlack family for a long time, and it's a really good school. I kind of picked it off the education, to be honest with you. Because again, I wasn't that good of a football player. But I was smart probably. I had a pretty high football IQ, which really helped.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience. I really enjoyed my time at Allegheny, and I met like my best friends there, and it was an awesome experience. And then after I graduated, they had an opening, but I wanted to go away. Try to learn from someone else. So I took a GA job at Misericordia University, which was in the first 2 years of their football program. And it was a great experience for Coach Ross there. We got the program up and off the ground. I was there for the first win. I learned a lot in that, and it was hard. That first year was hard. I mean, we had 99 freshmen, and we were playing a varsity schedule. I still remember that Gettysburg game. The first game, we go to Gettysburg, and we give up the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And then on the extra point, they muffed the snap, and everyone on our team froze, and they get the 2 points. So 6 seconds into school history, we're down 8-0. But it was a really cool experience. I really enjoyed my time there, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, obviously you kind of knew you wanted to be in a profession. So that college football came to an end. You got your degree. What was the steps to actually get that job? Who did you reach out to kind of get your foot in the door?
Yeah, I honestly struggled with it. Allegheny's not a cheap school. It's expensive. My parents, paid for my education. Division III, there's no athletic scholarships, and I was going to go out in the real world and make money. And I'm applying for these jobs and interviewing. I probably don't really want them. That's why I'm not getting them, because I'm not doing well. And then my dad finally is like, "You want to go coach football? Just go coach football." I saw the job on Football Scoop, and my cousin Gabe, who I talked about, he was the offense coordinator at Ithaca when Coach Ross was the defense coordinator at Ithaca. So I applied for the job, and probably my last name probably helped me get an interview. Yeah. And I went up there, and I guess I did a pretty good job, and got hired. And it was really cool because, they were just starting football, so we were understaffed. So I had to do a lot. Mm-hmm. So it was Coach Ross was the head coach and defense coordinator, and I was the defensive GA, and that's the only people in the office. Mm. So, I had to do everything with them, like scouting reports, scout cards, so it was, scout team, all that stuff, so it was a great experience for me because I had to be, I had to do everything, and I had to be the first one in the office, last one to leave. And, not that I don't think I wouldn't have done it, but, I had to just get all the work done. Plus, you're taking classes and stuff like that. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think, I was talking to somebody else on the podcast. It was very similar, right? They were kind of trying to step into the real world, and the passion just was not there. And then obviously the passion lied in that football. But then all of a sudden you get to the job, right? And all you've known, and you're kind of different because you were, you had some exposures beyond the X's and O's with the clinics and stuff that you were going to prior to even going to college. But you step into it and you realize it's like, man, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And even a step further for you, you were the one-man show behind the scenes, getting all this stuff done. At any point in that first year, especially not having, I would assume it was kind of a rough year, with the freshman roster, and then,
sure.
Kind of how you introduced that first 8 seconds of the season. I would imagine there were some moments where you're like, man, that job at that bank wasn't that bad. I was applying for. Did you have any of those type of moments at any point?
No, I think I was probably too dumb to realize that we were as bad as we were.
Yeah. No, that's a good
I always thought we were, because my experience was always, as a player in college, we figured it out. We were really good on defense when I was at Allegheny, and I was like, okay, the scheme will take care of itself, right? And, you learn pretty quick. It's about, the Jimmies and Joes, and But it was a lot of fun because I had a lot of responsibility. I was doing a lot. It wasn't just, breaking down film, and drawing scout cards. I was coaching, I was running meetings, I was doing different stuff. And I really saw it as an opportunity to grow. And I think it did help me, later in my career get like that next job because I had experience doing a lot of that stuff. Like I've run install meetings before. Like, how many guys right out of college are running install meetings, right? So it was cool. Like I had to learn how to like draw plays and do all that stuff. So I was able to like kind of have my own stuff when it came to my time to get that opportunity. So, but now probably not because I was excited. I was getting paid to coach football. Like, it was pretty cool.
I got you. Now, you talk about preparation and you talk about preparing for your next job and some of those moments. Yeah. Very early in your career, week 4 of the 2012 season, you get the opportunity, and correct me if I'm wrong here, to be the special teams coordinator, right? You're running a phase of the game that's, equally as important as as the head ball coach now. Like, and I spent my last year in the profession as a special teams coordinator, and like it's a big role, man. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that goes into an organization. Just everything that goes into it. How did you handle that 4 weeks into the profession?
I don't think I ever got asked, I just did it. Like, cause we had like in the staff, Coach Ross, head coach, defense coordinator, special teams coordinator when I first got there. Yeah. Right. That's a lot. Especially the first year program. Coach Hatcher is at Cornell now, was the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. And then Coach Gray, who's strength coach now, it was the offensive line coach, strength coach, recruiting coordinator, and then there's 2 GAs, right? And there's an offense, defense GA. So I just started doing it, and like I think Coach Ross was like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He kind of stepped away, and I just started like doing more and more because he didn't have time to do, all the stuff that he had to do. Like I just started making special team scouting reports. I would make the defensive one, I make the special teams one. And I think I just kind of like started doing that, and I started being like, okay, I'm just going to do the punt block. And, and I started like slowly, and then he let me just do it. And I don't think we ever had a conversation about it either. It just kind of like organically happened, if I remember correctly. And I just kind of like took the title. I don't even think he gave it to me. But I think he was so busy he didn't even realize it either, probably.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, that's great. Obviously, you showed the initiative, and clearly you're doing well enough for coach not to make any adjustments, regardless of the outcomes of the game. So that's awesome. Now, 2014, you get the opportunity to kind of return to your alma mater as the special teams coordinator, linebackers coach. How did that get on your radar? Was it the same staff, and why did you take it?
So my GA was ending, and it was probably week 9 or 10 of the year. Coach Matlack called me. It's like, hey, I'm going to have an opening, in January. One of my interns is leaving, are you interested? And I was like, yes. I always wanted to go back to Allegheny. I really enjoyed my time there. Coach Matlack, I still talk to like monthly. He's always been, a mentor to me and really supportive of what I'm doing. And, he gave me the opportunity. I figured out like how I would finish my last semester as a GA with classes online. And, and I talked to Coach Ross, and it was just a good opportunity for me. And, I went there, and, I enjoyed my time there. We weren't very good, but I really enjoyed my time there.
So you come back, and, obviously your previous years, your previous experience there at Allegheny was as a player. And, I don't know what kind of lifestyle you lived, but you lived a college student life. You hung out.
Sure.
All that kind of stuff. Like, how do you switch that? Obviously you've been in the profession a little bit, so you're there for a job. But how do you mentally prepare yourself for a job where this is the same place I was hanging out and partying?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go away. I didn't want to coach guys I played with.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much done. Like this, when I got there in the spring, there's a little bit of a carryover. There wasn't too many guys from when I played still there. It's different. But you're single and you're young, and you're living in the house with other coaches that are single and young. So you still have it. You just, you don't go to the bar that all the students are going to on Friday or Saturday night. You do different things. And you're so busy though too. I mean, you're getting back from a away game, you got to break down, you got to upload the film, intercut it, do all that kind of stuff. And, you're recruiting, you're on the road. So it wasn't too difficult. I mean, obviously there's times like on a Saturday night where you're bored and you're like, oh, I really want to go out right now, but there's nowhere for you to go. Right. But there was a ton of people in the department that I got along with, and you just understand like what's important to you at the end of the day, right? And I wasn't going to put myself in a position to jeopardize that.
And so once again, there you are, the special teams coordinator. I don't know if it was formal or not based off the last story, but I would assume it was a little bit more formal that you're the special teams coordinator at this point in time. How did you approach it now, having that experience, basically being one already? Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't much. I mean, Coach Malek, when I played, he did the punt. Okay. So, and different coaches had different special teams. And so we didn't really change. I knew it, right? I knew the scheme. I knew the schematics. We did Allegheny has a ton of grads that are coaching, especially in the Division I level. And, Rob Smith, Bob Frazier, Coach Smith at Michigan State, they have all these guys coaching. So, guys come through. They would recruiting. They would stop by and come through. And at the time, Marty Spieler was the special teams coordinator at Buffalo, and Marty came through and was like, "We're doing this shield punt. Like, you got to do this, blah blah blah." So we put it in, and Rob Wangers at Sacramento State, a special teams coordinator. Rob coached me at Allegheny, and he was at Western Michigan at the time as a special teams coordinator for Coach Fleck. And so, those guys were doing the shield punt. So we switched, and we got all their stuff, and we were kind of running their stuff. And he coached Marty, and he coached with Marty, and then he, coached with Rob. And so he trusted them, and, they taught it to me, and it was a pretty easy transition.
Good, man. So, yeah, what's interesting, you said that about Allegheny. I'm thinking about, I mentioned the amount of coaches that we've had on the podcast, and it's been a pretty solid amount of guys that have kind of been one of those stops that kind of breeds coaches. And, I found it interesting, some of these places just the coaches go there and they have, go on to have a lot of success, and Allegheny is definitely on that list. Now, after that year there, in 2015, you go to Washington and Jefferson. Obviously a very, very quick stop. Just out of curiosity, kind of what led to the transition, I guess.
Yeah, Coach Malek was retiring the next year. He told me to get out. So like towards that in the spring, he didn't know what was going to happen, and we weren't very good at Allegheny the last couple of years there. We struggled a little bit, and so I'm from Pittsburgh, and I was a quarterback, believe it or not, back when youth football, and I was reading the paper, and Washington Jefferson was having a quarterback receiver camp, and Coach Sirianni was the offense coordinator at the time. So I went to the camp. I went to the camp from like fourth grade till high school. So I've known him forever. Like Nick, who's the head coach of the Eagles, was a camp counselor at that camp. So I've known them forever. So, and I'm from Pittsburgh. I want to get back to Pittsburgh. So I just emailed Coach Sirianni. I was like, hey, if you have an opening, here's my resume, be interested. And I didn't hear anything. It was like a couple of weeks. And I remember I was getting in the car to go to a recruiting fair in Akron, I think. And I got a call from him. And he's like, hey, are you interested? I have a job. And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. He's like, you can come down like next week and talk to me. So I go down and talk to him. And I really didn't want to leave Allegheny, but I didn't know what direction they were going to go with after Coach retired after the next year. Yeah. So I was getting paid pretty well there, and I actually took. And it was the job at W&J was paid like $13,000 less. Mm-hmm. And so I Coach Sirianni, I remember like offered me the job basically on the interview, and I was like, I need a week to think about it. Like, I don't really want to leave my alma mater. I don't. And remember I was at a Duquesne camp, and he was there, and he's like, what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm going to take it. But it was a hard decision. Like, I didn't really want to leave. I didn't have to leave, but like, I didn't have many wins on my resume either. Yeah. Like, I had 2 wins. So like, I was like, I need to get some wins, on here and go somewhere that's successful. They were coming off a second round NCAA playoff appearance. I've known them, my whole life, basically. So, I took a chance, and I'll be honest with you, I thought I was going to be there for a year and leave. I thought I was going to go be here. Like, my goal at that point, like, I didn't want to be a head coach. Like, I really never wanted to be a head coach. Like, I wanted to go coach in the Patriot or Ivy League and, just maybe be a Patriot or Ivy League coordinator someday. Like, that was my goal. And, 9 years later, I'm still there.
Yeah.
But it's usually how it works, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And so you talked about that 1 week time frame where you told coach that let me think about this deal, and you run to him at the Duquesne camp. What changed over that week for you to ultimately say yeah?
I mean, I think I was always leaning towards it. I really didn't want to take the pay cut. That was like the big thing.
Yeah.
And, talking to Coach Matt, like, he's like, I don't want you to leave, but like, I think you need to take this job, kind of was like how he kind of verbalized it to me. And, I struggled with it because I like I said, like, I didn't want to leave my alma mater. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I love Coach. I love working for Coach, but it was a good opportunity for me to kind of get to where I thought I wanted to go.
Yeah. Now, in your first, let me do the math here, about 4 years of the profession, right? I don't think there's a number. If you're a good coach, I think you're always learning. But, those first couple of years are paramount to, your philosophies and things that you think about. Which stop was very impactful on you, especially as you sit in this head chair? I know they all were, but which one is that stop where you're like, man, I really grew there? That was a special time.
The Misericordia one was interesting. I remember our first year, and we were bad. I mean, we were really bad, and like we couldn't stop anyone on defense. And the first couple of weeks, we were trying to game plan it, And I remember it was like week 6, and we played Wilkes, and we actually played them pretty good. I think we lost by like 14 or 7 points. It was pretty. And we thought we played really well. I remember Coach Ross came in on Sunday morning, and he was so mad. He was like, this was the most unsound defense. This was like, we're going back to what we installed in camp, and we're just living with it. And it, like, there it clicked. Like, there's no shortcuts. There's a reason why there's teams that are bad, and there's a reason why there's teams that are good. But the guys that are good and are able to sustain success over a long period of time, in my opinion, stick to the plan. Yeah. And they don't deviate. They know it's not going to be instant. Like, places don't hire new coaches or, bring in new staffs or put in new schemes and instantly get better, right? It takes time. And that was what I learned. It wasn't like, it wasn't about like scheme or anything like that. You weren't going to be able to like outsmart people. You had to stick to the plan. And if you have a plan and you believe in it, it's eventually going to work. And, you saw the growth they had in his time there where they, went from that, and 6 years later, the 8-2, and you're runner up for the conference title. Like, you saw the growth within. So I think that was the biggest thing I learned is like, you can't just like change it and fix it like that. It takes time.
Yeah. And what an important lesson to kind of know as a head ball coach now, especially where, it's not even just the football part. It's everything. It's, getting a GPA higher. It's, it's just everything that goes into a program. That's a really good solid point to kind of pull out of that. So anyways, you take the job as special coordinator, linebackers coach at Washington, Jefferson, and very quickly you're named defensive coordinator within a year. And like you said, what's supposed to be a quick pit stop turned into kind of a long haul deal where you're a coordinator there from 16 to 23. So I want to talk about two things. What changed, right? Because it was supposed to be a pit stop. And then number two, you're coordinator before the special teams, which, has its own uniqueness. But in the DC, starting one, what are you calling right now? All the pressures that come with, being able to, run a side of the ball. How did you prepare yourself for that first year, and how did you grow over that time frame?
Yeah, so I remember in the spring that year, I interviewed for a job at Cornell, and I thought I was going to get it, and I didn't get it. And it was like, whatever, I'll come back W&J. And I know when I took the job there, like Coach Giannini is like, if I have a full-time job, like I'll promote you. Like that was like the thing. And in the summer, the defense coordinator left to go to St. Vincent, and he stuck to his word. Like, he didn't interview me, he promoted me. But something I always did, and I tell our guys on the staff too, like, if you want to be a coordinator, like, I always wanted to be a defense coordinator. Like, I was always working on my playbook, on my free time. Like, I was doing it. And I tell our guys this now, like, if you want to be a defense coordinator, offense coordinator, like, you need to have that ready, because if you get that job and you come in and you don't have it, like, you don't have time to draw it and build it and do all that. And I played for, Coach Matlack and Mike Kasherba at Lehigh, and I think Coach Kasherba is the smartest defensive mind I've ever been around. Like, that guy has more knowledge. You can start talking to him, and it's like, how the hell is he retaining this? Without drawing it, and he can just get it. And so I really believed in what we were doing as a player when I was at Allegheny. So that was kind of like what I believed in, and we were doing something really similar at Misericordia with Coach Ross, and then at W&J we're doing something totally different. And I knew what was me, and my fit what I wanted to do and what I believed in. And I got the job, and I remember I was just tweaking that. Like, as soon as I got it, I was just in that playbook, like, tweaking everything, making sure it all made sense, literally up to the day the guys moved into camp. So, but I don't think you're ever prepared for the job like I thought I was. I definitely wasn't. Like, we were okay that first year defensively, but we really made that jump year 2 when, I made a lot of mistakes, and, I was able to learn from them, and, I still am and making mistakes, but, it's like I said before, it wasn't instant. Like, you had to stick to the plan. Like, I stuck to the plan, and I believed in what we were doing, and, it continued to build over time.
Yeah. Well, clearly it built over time, man. You helped W&J to a 66-16 record during that time frame, 2-time conference champs, 2-time NCAA playoff appearances, 4-time ECAC conference bowl champs. I mean, what a heck of a run there at a pit stop, right? He went there and probably took your lumps. And let's talk about that part of it, I guess. Obviously people are listening to this podcast, sitting as a head ball coach. Like I said, you're having a career that a lot of people dream of and hope for. You know what I mean? They want to be head ball coaches. And obviously you had a ton of success there. But what were some of the legitimate lumps that you had? Management. I don't know where the lumps would be for you, but what were some of the lumps that came with that success?
I mean, they were always good at W&J. Coach Lockhart, Coach Sirianni, the third winningest program in Division III. Second most wins. Yeah. Coach Sirianni is I think the only coach in college football that has a better winning percentage than him is Dabo Sweeney. Like, he's won a lot of games. So it wasn't like I came into a situation they were bad, right?
Right.
They were really good. Coach Sirianni's never had a losing record. He's his brother just won the Super Bowl. I mean, it's it was a really good. And Coach Sirianni's the offensive coordinator, and he wants to go fast, and he wants to score points, and he wants to throw the ball, and he wants to get yards, and he doesn't care what you do on defense, which is great. It's awesome because you get to do it, and he's not micromanaging you or second guessing you. The amount of times he probably clicked over the defensive headset, I could probably count on my hand.
Yeah.
But you also, he's the offense coordinator, head coach, so you're, everything we do is for the offense. So that was hard, because you have an ego and you want to do things your way, and and he's intense, and he'll tell you he's half Polish, half Italian. He's going to yell at you.
Yeah.
But he's so passionate about, football, and it drives him. And so you have to be even if it wasn't your fault, sometimes you got yelled at, and you got yelled at and that, and it was I've never got yelled at before. Sometimes sometimes you have to learn just to shut up and take it. And, it's hard because, especially when you don't think you're wrong, which probably more often than not, I was wrong. And he did deserve to yell at me. But, I learned so much from him. Something he does a really good job of, and I think it's underrated because people don't really see that side of him, is his relationship with the players. He is it's kind of annoying because every day he's Michael Jordan better than LeBron? Like, it's like, okay, can we move on to something else here? But he's passionate about it. Like, no matter what, like, Michael Jordan is better than LeBron, and you better not tell him otherwise. If you're in like a 40-minute conversation about him just screaming at you why Michael Jordan is better than LeBron, which I agree with, but that's another subject. But he is he's very passionate about what he's doing and his guys and everything, and it's something refreshing that you really don't see a lot on football.
That's awesome, man. Well, we got to get him on the podcast. 'Cause I can go with him for 40 minutes for my boy LeBron. I go with him, and we'll make a heck of an episode. Good luck. I got you, man. Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear that side of Coach with all the success kind of came with his career. Ultimately, 23 comes around. I've already kind of listed the accolades and the success that you've had at that point in time. You transitioned to the head coach at where you currently are, Hampden-Sydney. How did that go down? And, why was this an opportunity to run and take?
Yeah. So, Coach Luvara, I was retiring. I saw, they announced in August that year. So Max Beal, who I played with at Allegheny, he just got on the staff as the offensive line coach here. And so I hit up Max and I was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, he's retiring, blah, blah, blah. And, they posted the job and I applied for it. And AD's probably going to get mad at me about this, but the first time I ever heard of Hampden-Sydney was when the guy cutting the grass knocked the goalpost down. I don't know if you saw that a couple of years ago. It was like on Barstool and everything. The guy wasn't paying attention. They had to go one way. Yep. They played the whole game. Yeah. Right. The offense had to go one way. He still gives them an ulcer, I think, talking about that. But and then it's an all-male school. So when I was at Allegheny, we played Wabash. When Wabash is the only other all-male school, and they opened one year when I was coaching there. It was the Gentleman's Classic. We play each other every 6 years now. So that's really the only time I've ever heard of the school. And I knew they were good. When Coach Luvara was the head coach, and I applied, and it was like week 3. I just saw it. I just sent my stuff in, and I was like, I don't know anyone in Virginia. I don't know anyone in the ODAC. Like, I'm probably not going to get a call about this. And it was last week of the year, I get an email from the athletic director on a Tuesday, and it was like, hey, we're interested in talking to you about our head coach position. You're free this week for a phone call. So Thursday night, I did a phone call with them. He's like, okay, we're going to do a Zoom interview with you. I was like, okay. I did the Zoom interview, and calls like, we're going to bring you on campus. So my wife and I fly out, and we did the whole interview, and I really wanted it. And I've interviewed for other head coaching jobs. I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, I don't know if I ever really wanted the other ones because I wasn't like as passionate about it in the interview process. And this place is special. Like, you can win a national title here. I don't think you can do that at every Division III school because you just don't have the resources and support that a lot of places have. And I mean, I just look at the basketball program here. Coach Kimbrough took over. I think he's in his 7th year now. And the year before he started, they were 4-22. And 6 years later, they're the national runner-up. And, they want, like, football is important here. Like, it's the first thing you see when you come on the campus, the football stadium. I mean, we're top 3 in attendance every year. The alumni support, like, they want to be good. And there's only 900 students that go to school here. And, we're averaging over 6,000 people at a home football game. And you feel the passion when you get to the place. And I guess, I don't even know, like, 2 people called and recommended me for this job. Our AD won't tell me who they were because he wants to respect their privacy. But I don't know who they were, but whoever they were, thanks. But like I said, like, I never wanted to be a head coach because I love coaching football. Mm-hmm. And as a head coach, you don't do a lot of coaching football because you're dealing with so many different things every day. And it was like my wife loved the place. Like, you come on, it's like out of a postcard, when you see the campus, and the people are just so awesome here. And it was like, I really wanted it. And I think it came across that, how passionate I was in the interview process. And, it just worked out. I got lucky.
Well, you get a job like that, and, you were very straightforward. I love the response with, the success that you believe that school can have. And so you see that, and then now you're sitting in a chair and you are hoping to make that come to fruition. What's the first thing you got to do? What do you got to do to start moving towards that goalpost?
Yeah, I mean, I really love the makeup of our football team. Our staff here has done a great job recruiting. We were young last year. I mean, we started 8 freshmen in our last game. We had 2 freshmen All-Americans on the offensive line. So we've done a really good job recruiting. I just think it's about continuing to develop our guys. We've gotten better, and we're going to continue to get better. And just sticking to our processes, like I talked about, like there's no shortcut. Like we weren't going to come in here and just because Coach Luvara retired, they brought in a new coach, were we going to win a national title? Yeah. Right? It's not about me or one person. It's about all of us, and it's about getting everyone, aligned, with the mission of the school. Right? Hampden-Sydney's mission is forming good men and good citizens. Well, if we don't do that in the football program, we're not going to do that on the field, and it starts with off the field. And we talk to our guys about it. I tell them all the time, like, you don't go practice football to get bigger, stronger, faster. You go lift weights and run, right? So we got to do everything right off the field before we do it on the field. And slowly you can see it. Like we had our, after the season ended, we had a team meeting, and in the meeting I said to the guys, do you think we're better today than we were the first spring practice we have? And everyone shook their head. Like you could see the growth of our football team and getting better. And change is hard. We changed a lot when I got here, and it's you're going to have a little bit of resistance to change, and but I think now we're all rowing in the same direction, and I'm really excited about what we have going on here and who we have, and the people are just everyone involved in the football program here is awesome, and I can't say enough good things about what we have going on.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, we're excited about keeping up with your journey there. Super appreciative of you hopping on, spending an hour with me as a head ball coach. And it's tough to find a free hour at times. Before I let you go, I do want to ask one question. You're part of our 35-35 class this past January, class of 25. Just talk a little bit about that experience real fast, and then why you would encourage any other young guy to apply for this.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very cool experience. It's kind of intimidating too, I'll be honest with you, as a D3 coach, and you got all these Division I guys, you're sitting in the room with, and it was a cool experience, and very educational, to be honest with you. It was something I wasn't expecting, for how many different people you guys brought in that were, how to manage your bank account, to how to purchase a house, that, if you have an agent, how you handle the agent, I thought the speakers were awesome. It was something I actually applied for a few times, and, my last year, I guess I got chosen for it, that I could qualify for it, but it was a really cool experience. Just the amount of connections that you make from it. I have guys that will email me or, follow me on Twitter just because I was 3,500, and they were, I've never met them before. So it is a pretty cool group you're part of. And, I really appreciated listening to all the different people that were brought in, like Coach Dillingham, Coach Jackson, it was really cool just to hear their perspectives and different things. It was a really, really neat day for sure.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, we appreciate you being part of the program and, help continue to elevate that program into something of, what it is, and hopefully what it'll continue to be is something special, man. Well, I'll let you go, man. I'll let you get back to it. I appreciate the time, and hopefully get the opportunity to, have you up on the stage and pour back into those future classes at 35-35 as well. But look forward to seeing you in Charlotte, okay?
For sure. Thanks. Appreciate it, Mario.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Have a good one.
When communication counts, trust the headsets trusted by the best. From high schools to the biggest college programs, CoachComm keeps coaches connected and teams prepared to win. Learn more at CoachComm.com.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to AFCA.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm on wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, We'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.